There are a ton of manga out there, and not every manga will be equally suitable for beginners. In this video, I'll go through several of the most popular manga available, along with some of my personal favorites, and rank them based on how well suited they are for beginners to learn the Japanese language. Remember to like and subscribe to get more content related to learning Japanese, as well as hopefully interesting videos about Japan and Japanese culture. Now, manga are really great to learn Japanese from. Not only do you get to read them at your own pace, meaning that you can easily look up new words, but they also contain art that help you understand what is happening. This makes manga ideal for learners of Japanese who have mastered the basics. I think really every manga can be good to read in some way, but it usually depends on your level. The easier ones have furigana, and which are the small kana symbols above kanji, and they're also somewhat applicable to daily life. And what I mean by this is that it's more useful to learn words you can use in your daily life if you live in Japan, interacting with normal people, rather than learning Japanese words used for medieval combat, for example. So this means that you should ideally read material that will help you become fluent in Japanese by teaching you the words and phrases that you will actually use in real life, that you actually can use. So that's really the basis for this ranking. So remember that this has really nothing to do with the quality of the manga. So the ranking here is really how easy is the manga to read and how useful is the language that's contained in the manga. Okay, let's start with a personal favorite of mine. One of the first anime I came across. I read the whole manga in Japanese as well. It's Akira. Now, Akira has a really great story, but it doesn't really have any furigana, and it deals with a post-apocalyptic world. So, for a beginner to read, I would rank this a D. As a manga, it's among the best there is, but just purely to learn from, I would rank it as a D. Next one is another personal favorite of mine. It's Berserk. Berserk. Again, here the story is amazing. This manga is really great, and you should read it regardless. But learning about swords and sorcery won't really help you land a job or help you stay in school. So, in this ranking, it's a D. I'm sorry. Nagatoro. Let's see here. Nagatoro. Here you are. Nagatoro. This manga is really easy to read, and it has furigana. And it's set in a school setting, so you can use a lot of the language presented here. There's quite a bit of slang, but I think that's useful to know, especially if you're planning to go to high school in Japan or college even. Nagatoro is a great read. So I will place this as an A to learn from. Let's see, next is Uzaki-chan. Uzaki-chan wa asobitai. Uzaki it covers much of the same territory as Nagatoro does, but the main character goes to university instead. This manga has furigana, but the format is a bit difficult to read, as it uses different font sizes for various speech bubbles, so I found it a bit difficult to read, purely based on that. The content is, fairly useful, I would say, but it's just the formatting, it sort of makes it a bit more difficult to read, so I would rank it as a C. Now, Dragon Ball is the next one. Dragon Ball is really fast-paced and fun to read, and it has furigana, but it doesn't really teach you that much, so I would rank it as C as well. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, I would rank this as a C. It has furigana, but the setting and the words make it not the best for beginners. But, again, if you like it, go for it. But purely based on the language, I would rank it as a C for learners of Japanese. Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk has a great story. It has furigana, and it's in a high school setting, so I would rank it an A. This is a really great read. Let's see here. Next one is Bleach. Let's see, where is Bleach on my list? Here's Bleach. Now, I actually haven't read this manga but I flipped through it and I saw some of the similar problems with Uzaki. It has furigana, but the different font sizes here can make it a bit difficult to read. Sometimes you can't even see the furigana, so yeah, I would rank it as a D. Next one is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan has, or Shingeki no Kyojin, it has furigana, a really captivating story, but the words you learn won't always be that useful in modern life. So I would rank Attack on Titan a C. Now another fun one, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, Jojo no Fujigina Boken. It has furigana, but the setting isn't really that useful if you're planning to go to Japan, so I would rank this a C. But again, if one of the reasons you want to learn Japanese is because of Jojo, then just go ahead and read it. Next one is another fun one, Baki The Grappler. Baki has furigana, is really fast paced, and it's set in a modern time period. But most of the language here will deal with fighting, so it's not really that useful in my opinion. So I'm going to give it a C. Next one is Ranma. Ranma is set in a high school setting, but it contains a lot of martial arts as well. But it's really funny and it's easy to read, so I'm going to give it an A. It's pretty old now, but it's really fun, so it's amazing. Let's see, High School Girl is really one of my personal favorites. One of the best manga I've ever read. This manga does not have furigana, but the language is really great. The language skills of the author here is really amazing. He's one of the best writers I've actually seen. His art, it's not the best, but the story is really amazing. I really love it. One of my all-time favorites. So even though it's hard to read, the setting is so great. So I'll have to give it a B based on how good it is to learn Japanese from. So let's see what's next on my list. Next one is Kingdom. Kingdom has a really great story, but the language isn't really that useful in modern life. So it's really fun to read if you love kanji, because there's a lot of kanji that come from Chinese names and stuff. So you'll see a lot of kanji here that you don't really see in other manga. So I really love it. It's great if you love kanji, but for beginners, not so much. So I'll give it a D. Let's see, the next one is Fist of the North Star. Fist of the North Star is a post-apocalyptic masterpiece. It's really fast-paced and fun to read, but again, it doesn't really contain that many useful words. It has furigana for some of the more difficult words, but not for every word. So I'll rank it a D in this list. Let's see. Next one is Urusei Yatsura. This one has furigana and it's pretty funny. It's a bit old though, so it's not really as fast-paced as some of the other ones, so I'll rank it as a C. Karakai Jousu no Takaki-san. I will rank this as an A for some of the same reasons as Nagatoro. It's easy to read and it's in a high school setting, so that's one of the manga that I recommend if you think you'll enjoy it. Let's see, when it comes to One Piece is also really easy to read, but again, it's not that great for modern life, so it doesn't contain that many useful words, so I'll also give it a C. Yes, I'll give it a C. One Punch Man has furigana. It's fairly easy to read, but again, the setting isn't really that great, so I'll also give this one a D. Komi-san wa komusho desu. Komi-san can communicate. This manga has furigana and a high school setting, and it's also really easy to read, so I would give this an A. And then we have High Score Girl Dash, which is basically the same as High Score Girl. I'll give it a B. It's just a great manga. The language is great, everything is great, but it doesn't really have furigana, but read it anyways. And then we have one spot left. The last one we have, it's a bit cropped here, but it should say manga, and this is really just your favorite manga, so I would rank this as an S. And the reason I have your favorite manga here as an S is because the manga you read is better than the one you don't read. So if your favorite manga is here in the D tier, for example, I would still recommend that you read it rather than going through. For example, if you hate everything here on the A tier and your favorite is here, you can read your favorite instead. Because these are just really general guidelines based on how useful I think the language is. I read actually Berserk before I was ready, really. It was one of the first manga I read in Japanese, and it was still worth it. It was really a great story. So the point here is really having fun is the most important part. And you can always reread your favorite manga later on to see how much you've improved. So if I didn't mention your favorite manga, then just let me know in the comments what manga you like and I'll give it a rating. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe, hit the bell button, and I'll see you next one. Watch this video next to see some manga that I recommend you read after you've completed Berserk.